Wow, what a disaster this has been. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back at the garage working on the stolen GSR because we need to get this thing going. We need to get this thing on the road ASAP. So today what we're going to be doing is handling some of the stuff under the car so we could get one step closer to getting off the lift once and for all. Don't mind all this mess here. All you got to worry about for today's video is this epoxy exhaust and that zinc coated JDM ITR shift linkage. Along with that, we have a short shifter and some shifter bushings that we have to install. And the other part of the exhaust has been sitting in this garage for quite a couple years. So let's unload everything, lift the car up, and get to it. I've been carrying around this set of shift linkage bushings for a long time. I think since the first time we ever went on track with that Civic. So I bought it for that Civic. I think they didn't fit. So I'm hoping that they would fit this one here. These are solid bushings. So this should essentially help with the shifting. We'll see about that. And then for the shifter, here we have a weighted, I don't know if this is weighted, but the shifter's heavier. And this is a Skunk 2, like I guess this is a short shifter. You guys can see the Skunk 2 marking all over. So it's gonna get a couple Skunk 2 upgrades. Obviously you guys can see this is a single piece, the rubber bushing. It's a single piece, but the new bushing, there is a nice billet aluminum piece. It goes in like this. Looks pretty good. Then we flip the shift linkage around. We have the opposite end. And this is like a rubber bushing that goes through both sides. See how we can feed this through here. Okay. Nice and easy. We're gonna replace this with this, if it fits. Being honest, you guys can tell it might not be wide enough, but oh, it's just wide enough. Okay. All right. So the parts fit. I think. Oh yeah, no, because the transmission comes through here. Then you just put a 12 with a washer, and there's like a bigger washer that goes around it. All right. So these work finally. So we can finally put those on. Now we're gonna flip this one more time to uninstall this from here. This 12 right here. Okay. So now we got 210s here. That should that'll remove the ball, and then that'll fall right out. Okay. Now this thing just pops out. This bushing, you're gonna need all these pieces, so you gotta slide this up. Oh, sorry, you gotta slide this down. Now we have the old shifter. We could just put aside. Now we have to just undo everything we just did on the new shifter. First things first. I mean, if you have a little bit of grease, you might want to put a little bit of grease here. Perhaps done this the opposite way. It almost seems that way. A bit in there. This should essentially keep this lubricated, I guess, as best as possible. Now, this has to go in here again. That was easy. Okay, now this is all set. Ready to go back in. Alright guys, so some fabrication just ensued. So I opened up the toolbox right here and I found a spacer made out of some sort of aluminum stock that actually is the right, well, it was the right size that we were looking for. However, once I looked online and I saw that it comes with multiple gaskets, I had to trim this one down a little bit. And then I had to make washers. I was able to find one of the washers. It's a little rusty, but it'll do the job. But I couldn't find a second one. So then I found, you know, like one of these like terminal for the grounds or whatever. One of these things. And then I made a washer out of that. So now this should all fit in how we expect, well, how it's supposed to. Hopefully Cousin Gary doesn't show up later and he's like, oh yeah, I have all those, here you go. It's gonna be too late. Well, that took an unnecessary amount of time, but now we can lift the car up and start putting these in. I believe, well, I know for a fact, since this is a manual car, it has the studs for the shift linkage, so everything should be done from the bottom. Should be nice and easy, shouldn't have any problems. Let's see how this goes. So it turns out that I put this in backwards. This piece, or this opening, is supposed to be on the opposite side. So now I gotta undo it all and quickly flip it over. Hopefully it goes well. Well, that was embarrassing long, but I would say that if I was just putting the shift linkage up and I wasn't trying to change these little, you know, bushings or anything like that, this would have been done like an hour and a half ago, or to you guys 2 minutes ago. But I just realized that this bushing up here is not all the way up. Like, it's not all the way seating flush against this, which may be a problem later on, but I think that is a problem for later on. I might have to pull out that bolt and then just put some like red Loctite on that so that doesn't back out, because that happened to me on one of my other cars last year. I don't know if I showed you guys the B pipe, but I brought that. The only thing that we're missing is the axle back, which has been hiding conveniently behind this thing for the last couple years. Honestly, this build, if you want to call it that, is years in the making. I impulsively bought this exhaust like many years ago, just because the guy listed up for like $180, and I was like, no, that's too good of a deal. Even though I didn't have a car I needed it on, I bought it anyways. So at least it's being used on something decent. And this thing, luckily, conveniently, has all the rubber mounts still there. You know what's a sad realization? I'm over here talking about how I've been hoarding this because I bought it because it was such a good deal, and you know what happened? This thing is to like a Bonneville or something. I don't know what these guys were putting the axle back onto, but this thing fits like dog poop. It doesn't line up to any of the hangers at all. The exhaust is just not touching. They're just not reaching. And you would think like, oh, just push it back, or this one has to go back, but this one is stuck already. And if we go up here, it won't even line up to the right hangers. These hangers are messed up, and this is too far in on the bumper. And to make it line up to that one, we'd have to push it much further back, so like the exhaust wouldn't be visible from the bumper. So we're gonna go to plan B. Plan B is taking a quick walk outside to the stash. And right here we have two different things to pick from. This is like OEM piping, this one right here. So I don't think we're gonna use this one. This, I don't know what the hell that's for. But then there's this other cheap little one. And that one, we don't need to do any adapters to. So we're just gonna run this one. And I know this one came off of an Integra. Wow, What a disaster this has been. The epoxy that I've been hoarding for years didn't work. And then the exhaust I have on the side of the garage also didn't work. Yeah, they came off of Integras. No idea why they didn't work, but let me show you what we came up with. So the front pipe was used from the exhaust on the side of the garage and the B pipe. So the whole B pipe was used. And then the epoxy exhaust is what we ended up using. And we just made it fit. Let me see what I can show you guys. So it's a little off-centered here, but it's still pretty good. So this is what we're gonna run with. So that'll be a wrap on today's video. We were able to put up the shift linkage and put in the exhaust. We still need a little button up to do, but at least it's done. So make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. Peace.